Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. 10-ish. Everybody knows the drill. 10-ish. But for those of you that have children, I want to let you know, this is Betsy. And Betsy is with Happy Kids Movement. And she's really great in that she helps everybody, helps these kids really understand like mindfulness, meditation, yoga practices, and she's been partnering with us for a long time, but just wanted to introduce you to her. If you have kids but you didn't bring them, for children ages 6 and up, we do have Betsy most Sundays dropping in with us. So, wanted you to be able to meet her, and then they will be around the back, in between the auditorium and the office building. So that's where the kids will be today. So thank you, Betsy. Yeah, right? So good. We're looking for people to help with kid stuff for like a really long time, and it just, it was kind of a difficult thing to do. And then finally, through how it is with all of the connections and things, Betsy found her way here, and it's been really great because we are this kind of weird hybrid spiritual community meets church space. Just kind of, again, we're a unique environment, and so trying to find somebody who is not trying to teach kids about God getting mad at humanity and wiping them out with a flood, and then on the other end of the spectrum, it's whatever sort of. And I'm woo-woo, just so you know. But understanding the continuum of woo-woo, she's really, really great person for that. So if you have kids and you didn't bring them today, ages 6 and up, she hangs out with them, and always like to give her some space there. So a few things before we get started today. And we're gonna do things just a little bit, not different, kind of the same, but a lot of times I'm giving you some announcements, sharing some things, having some really bad dad jokes, and then, we get into meditation and share a reflection. But we have a few things going on that I want to talk to you about. But actually, before we do, I won't let you off without this one. Yesterday we were down at the beach for a little bit, and I know we're all suffering through winter right now. It's hard. We're going to survive. We're going to make it. It's I had to turn on my air conditioning this morning, and it's just, I know, it's just, it's hard. It's hard. And I'm thinking about just all of my friends and people back in the Midwest and everywhere, and it's -2 degrees the other morning there, and I'm I'm gonna probably have to wear sunscreen today, and it's really awesome. It's really great, and I have, I don't post online to make people feel bad anymore, but the temptation's there. I was so bad to just be because my sister lives there, my parents went to Miami for the month of January, so they're escaping it too. So we're rubbing it in my sister's face pretty well. But even at that, I think about I was getting ready, I'm ooh, I got a little sun yesterday down at the beach, and it's everybody's frostbit. So it's great. It's great. A few things here just before we get started. I should just share some of this. Forget these notes, dude. I'll remember what I need to remember. I'm going to just share just a little bit, and I normally don't sit down first, but I want to sit down and just share just a little bit before we light our candles today, a little bit different of a flow. I shared a few things on our social media outlets this week. And how it normally rolls, it's it's not my favorite or best take of this thing, but whatever. We got to get something out there. But I just want to name how chaotic stuff is right now. And Jamie came early and helped me set up this morning, and we're saying it's a very interesting place whenever you just qualify everything that's going on. It's to get started, where do you begin? There's so many different things that are happening right now, and it's where do I begin with all the stuff, especially for those of us that are dealing with social media addictions already, and we're trying to navigate through our things, our news feeds, even now, what's true, what's not true, what's AI, what's not. I get duped still, I know. Not as bad as my dad does. He sends me all sorts of things, look at this bear jumping on a trampoline, It's I don't want to tell you. I'm going to have to tell you one day, but I don't want to tell you, you know. That's nice, Dad. That's nice. Wow. Neat. Who'd have thought? But there is a lot of things that are shaking down right now, and I just kind of want to just name a couple things because we are trying to facilitate a new sort of space here, and so even a friend in the community who's really part of like our sort of like leadership of this community was saying like, you know, how helpful is the language of church right now or not? And we're honestly, we're kind of feeling out like what language serves the space best. Honestly, language and concepts and things, that's very at a surface of an ear level. When you get down beneath and you feel a like heart, you can feel if you're in the same boat with people or not, you know. But we're trying to navigate through some of that, and with that, we're just trying to understand like how do we understand these times and name them in a way, because there's a lot of times that churches will take different postures and positions on political things and upheaval that are taking place in the world. And I don't want to completely just be like riding over everything, like, oh, just another Sunday, love and light, let's go and do our whatever, you know. But at the same token, I want to remind us as well that like Jamie and I were speaking about this morning, this world has always been in chaos. The nature of this plane of existence is disorder and chaos. And it brings a lot of hope that like, I don't really know what's happening in the world right now, and nobody really does. But there's something that's like magic, I think, in the true sense of the word of magic happens. What's up, Sika? So whenever we get together and we name that haze and that fogginess together, and when we name that haze and that fogginess together, the magical thing that's happening is that something becomes clear. I don't think the solution to the problems necessarily become clear, but I get clear on who I am. I'm here right now, I'm breathing, I'm okay, I'm with other people, sorting through this, and we're all feeling into this too, and not just make-believing that it's the Truman Show, which we watched last night, because it kind of feels like that some days. So I just want to just acknowledge that like, there is a lot of things going on, and many of you are trying to sort through where you're feeling right now. And it's okay to feel very dysregulated with everything that's happening. And in light of that, just wanted to share two opportunities that we're kind of feeling in response to that. The first is, we were talking text, and he kindly suggested to facilitate and open a space for people to come together and just process all that's happening in the world right now. And so just want to invite you to that. We've set a date for Thursday, February 12th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Kindly, Will and Jamie have opened their home in Lucadia to come and to process. And just want to set up what this is it's a place to come and to bring everything that we are wrestling with and have conversation and dialogue about it. Again, there's not really an intention to come up with some big, grand, like, strategy, like prestige worldwide is not going to happen that night. But what we do want to do is, again, name the haze so that we can all feel a little bit more clear within our being through this. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone, one of my favorite Alan Watts quotes. And if we don't set time for intentionality for that, then we will get sucked into the world's vortex, quite literally. And we will spend our life reacting in ways that just perpetuate the same stuff over and over. So I want to encourage you to come if you're feeling this sort of like inner just chaos, this inner sort of like friction, this inner kind of panic that's happening, and you feel like you need a group space to articulate that in a way that is not going to try to, convert you to whatever other dogma. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's a space for that. And then with that, the retreat, and if you watch this video, I appreciate it, but I just wanted to share it again here. Just like, I've struggled with the retreat recently, getting some of that planned, because I'm like, it's like a dumpster fire, and we're gonna go and meditate together, and it's like, what better time though to do that than right now? Again, if we can't retreat from the world, we can't see clearly when we re-engage the world. And there's a saying in the Gospel of Thomas that basically, more or less in my interpretation of it, is that like, one is drunk on the world, and until they sober up, they cannot see how to help other people who are drunk walk to sobriety, And so it's like we have to give ourselves time to dry up, if you will, from the drunkenness of the world that we find ourselves in, so that we can truly walk each other home. And that's what the intention of the retreat is. And so I want to invite you to join us for the retreat. That deadline's coming up pretty soon here. And we just have to figure out logistics for all of that. So if you're on the fence about it, I encourage you to register for the retreat. It's a really timely moment, I think, to take just a weekend back to engage this world, because we are to be people of peace. And if you don't carve out time for peace, there's no way to embody that and actually integrate that into our life. So I know I sat down for some announcements this time. You know they're going to be long when that happens. But that's what we're up to here. We're still feeling our way through. We are a nonprofit organization. We exist solely on contributions and things. But what our real hope and purpose is to help people just remember that inner wholeness and find ways to actually integrate that and activate that in a communal setting. So, Lindsay, do you mind to light our candles? Because I want to set our intention this morning for meditation, just in light of that feeling of unrest that many of us are feeling. Thank you. And again, this is supposed to be a container and a space where we take a moment to pause from the world. And I say that a lot, so much so that I feel like it can become like a repetitive ritual, but I really mean that. So for these few minutes, 11-ish to 11-ish, I just really want to encourage you to all of the things that are binding you up inside, to allow yourself to drop out of the mind of trying to figure it out and into that inner space of being, so that you can see with greater clarity. So with that, we set our intention, we set the light above where Christ is seated. And we take this moment to become aware of our breath. That the way to engage a chaotic world is not through more chaos, but through a calm presence of being. And so in this moment of time, in the altar of our hearts, we surrender to the divine, to the Spirit of God that is here, in us, through us. And we ask for illumination for how the divine wants to integrate as us as we become greater people of peace in this world. As we prepare our hearts for this meditation that Lindsay will lead us through, we just do the groundwork beforehand of softening. We invite our shoulders to relax, to our breaths to get deeper, and most importantly, we ask for guidance from above. God, your divine mind would rest on us. Help us to set our mind above where Christ is seated. Thank you for spaces of pause so that we can return and engage with impact, with meaning, with real change. We devote this moment of meditation to you, to our true self, to our communities that benefit as a result of our intention to be healers in a fragmented world.
just finding yourself still in the remnants of that prayer. And we'll just continue in that energy, in that space, and inviting in that slowness. So let's just begin by taking a few deep breaths together. Taking an inhale in and letting it out. Just noticing where your breath maybe begins to stay a little stagnant, or noticing any sensations that you might be holding on to as we really become attuned and aware to our breath, breathing in and letting it go. Breathing in and letting it go. And on this next breath, I just want you to perhaps put your hand upon your belly, maybe right where your belly button is. And just seeing if you can lead your breath to expand that space under your palm. And just noticing if it's a little bit tighter there, maybe adjusting your spine to see if you can expand that space a little bit more, inviting in some air to that lower belly. Just testing that out on your own right now, finding any adjustments that you need. And we'll breathe in together into that space. And exhaling. Breathing into that space in your lower belly. And let's hold at the top this time for just a few seconds. And slowing down the exhale. Breathing in. Holding at the top. And letting it go slowly. And just finding a normal breath cadence, whatever that is for you. You can continue with that breath, holding at the top and extending the exhale. Or like I mentioned, just finding a normal breath cadence. And when the world around us is spiraling in chaos, it might even be mirroring what our internal world looks like too. But when things feel murky or unclear, our path feels distant, one thing that we can do is get quiet. We can pause. Get into a quiet space. Pray. And listen. begin to notice places within your body that might feel more rigid or tight. And if it helps you connect even deeper to those places, you can place a hand where you feel that tension. Maybe it's a shoulder, maybe it's your throat. Maybe it's your pelvis, your hips. Just noticing how simply creating a little bit of space for you to become more attuned with what is alive and fully present right now in your body without judgment, without force or fixation. You can actually signal to your entire system to slowly soften. Let's place our hand on our heart if that feels good for you to join in. God, we thank you for this space. We thank you for all the medicine that we have received from the experiences in our life and witnessing the things around us and in others. God, please help us to continue attuning every moment and every day to that inner connection with you, helping us feel connected today to one another, to feel your presence filled in this room. Help us feel you and to embody the wisdom that you've placed within each and every one of us. Help us use our voices and our hearts for those that aren't able to speak up for themselves in this moment. Help us continue to find pockets of time to be able to quiet down and to be in relation with you. May we move through this day, this week, this month, with clear eyes and clear ears to hear and see you. Thank you. Amen. Just taking your time, you can find your eyes slowly opening, coming back into the room, back into your body.
I hope you receive that like I do. Well said. Thank you for that prayer. That's all we're trying to do here. Help remind each other to remember, walk each other home, embody who God's called you to be. So for a few minutes, just want to chat a little bit about some dogma. Not any necessarily that we hold or whatever, but I have it, the stickers we made up, the dogma, just say no. Who remembers the just say no stuff? Right? Just say no, you know. And then I have Lauren's sticker that I showed you last time. Well, I don't know where she's at, but Laura, her sticker that said, I just like listening to sad songs. That deserves repeating. And it's true. I do. And it's really helpful. And some people, you know, I'm just a big feeler person. And since I was young, I just love like just instrumental, cinematic, post-rock vibes. You know, whenever I was young, the band Explosions in the Sky, This Will Destroy You, those bands. Just love it. Just into it all. Still into it. And it's just really helpful. And I found myself recently just like revisiting some bands. There's a band called Hammock. We're not here to talk about music, but here we are. And they released an album recently, and it's just like this cinematic, beautiful piece. And I found myself just in one of those like completely just like frozen times in the apartment where it's like I have plenty of things to do and I have plenty of things to care about, but I can't right now. And I went for a little walk, listened to Hammock, and getting the feels. And it's like it's just sad music, but it just meets you right there, you know. And you know, it's kind of like whenever you're feeling aggressive and you just want to like listen to, you know, grind. Like death metal music, whatever. It's like blast beats and yelling helps. Ironically, whenever I'm mad, I don't know why, it's just helpful. And then there's like that tipping point where I'm like, I might get in a fight. Should probably relax a little bit. Just saying. That's why we go to hardcore shows. You stage dive and hit people, and then people smile and hug each other. We are a bizarre bunch. But I've found some of that to be helpful during this time. I don't know why I'm sharing that with you. Maybe just because go on a walk and listen to some music and to reflect, that'd be good. But on the sticker game here, I got really into making stickers, if you can't tell, for a little bit. Made a bunch of them. But this Dogma, Just Say No, I had for a while. And I just thought, we talk a lot about being a non-dogmatic space a lot. And I realize I use that word, just kind of flippantly and around or whatever, not realizing that we don't really... Maybe not all of us have like an understanding for like what we mean by that, by this intention to facilitate a space that is free from dogma. I think everybody has an agenda though, and a lot of times we confuse dogma with like people having an agenda. Everybody's got an angle, even us. Our angle is to help facilitate a space to create this interconnection of oneness with God without any barriers in between you. That's our angle. That's our agenda. And so that's what we're up to. Everybody's got one, though. And so the dogma, though, I think the only dogma that I feel like really good about and like that I would probably die on a hill for would be Kevin Smith's movie with Alanis Morissette as God. I don't know if anybody has seen Dogma, the movie Dogma. I thought more people would relate with that one. But anyways, no Jay and Silent Bob fans in the house, I guess. Okay, all right. So I'm not alone with this weird 90s movie of like, anyway, digress. But this idea of dogma, like I feel like it creeps up so easily into spaces. And I just wanted to share just a little bit of a couple stories as kind of illustrations for us today. And as always, pick up what is relevant and zone out for what doesn't. It's up to you. So like we started, last time we talked about the 2-year anniversary, and I shared about how we started in 2016 and 2020, and we started it again in 2024, and that's its current, no pun intended, expression. But in 2020, I found that when we were trying to do things, we were trying to hold this space, and really, I've always been put emphasis on curiosity and exploration and not holding too tightly to the things that we believe is absolute truth in our life. Just because I've seen in my own life, like I've changed, I've shifted. My life circumstance reorients me in ways. God pulls things out in different seasons that I see now, and I life is a lot more fluid and flexible and malleable than I think we are willing to accept. And so I've always wanted that to be a curious exploration. That's why the podcast I did for your spiritual nomad. It's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of floating around here and trying to figure it out, But I found that whenever we started gathering together, it began so pure. And slowly over time, I could just feel this infiltration of well-meaning people, good folks, but there was these dogmas that we just couldn't allow to be held with an open hand. And ultimately that splintered so much that it was just time for us to either sacrifice who we are and get with whatever program is emerging, or hold true and stay true and bury the thing for the time that it needed to be. But a lot of the things that came up were these dogmas. Dogma is there are these rigid beliefs that we hold as absolutely true. They cannot be questioned. They are things that people in other places and other times have already figured out for us and now hand to us as being the truth. They usually start with a good intention. They usually start from some sort of experience. If you look at the tradition that I come from in Christianity, this person who was a rogue rabbi who nobody really knew who his father was, not only from a physical standpoint, but nobody knew who his teacher was. And they're trying to follow this guy around, and he's just like doing random things and healing people and telling people, you don't got to worry about that law anymore, and doing all sorts of stuff. Ultimately, this person who broke the dogmatic system has ironically now, 2,000 years later, people who bear that name have become quite dogmatic as representatives of that tradition, the tradition that I come from. And so what happens is again, it starts like with good intention, and then over time it just calcifies over the years to where it is just this impenetrable idea, these set of doctrines that then evolve into a dogma, these set of beliefs that we had. As a matter of fact, I Googled, what does dogma mean? And it popped this thing up. I don't know if I still have it on here or not, but it's actually pretty funny. Yeah, it's the AI overview, which is apparently the new Google thing. You know, it's like, I just want to search, you know, like a 2005 search, you know, like that's what I want. Just, you know, but it gave me this thing, and it's dogma, and it says dogma refers to a principle, belief, or set of doctrines laid down by an authority, such as a church or organization, that is asserted to be undeniably true and accepted without question. The most fascinating thing to me, I don't know what sort of angle Google's got, but the little picture is Jesus. Right next to, it's like, I mean, we know we got a bad rap, but like, just the word dogma and the picture of Jesus is next to it. I think he would be mortified. I think he would not be happy about that publicity stunt. Just saying. And so as I read that and I look through some of these things and just the evolution of what happens, like the Holy Trinity is a central dogma in many Christian denominations. It's funny that it just goes straight for that one, you know. And then politics and science, everywhere has its own dogmas. This isn't limited to our tradition. Many traditions have their own dogmas. I'm part of like motorcycle communities. They have their own dogmas about like what qualifies as the real Harley era, you know? And it's like, relax. So everybody's got their dogmas that they're dealing with. We all do in our own hearts, in our own ways. And I think where growth comes is whenever we start to allow the things that are unquestionable to start to come into question, allow the curiosity. And a lot of times that is paired with a lot of pain, though. Because what dogma is really doing, I think, is we think it's solving some sort of insecurity within us. It's providing a sense of real security. And the inability to be able to grapple with the complexity of life, with God, with politics, with all of these things, we find safe haven and, oh great, the smart people have already figured it out. And I can just hang my hat there and just become a sort of parrot and puppet for that. But if we're honest about our life experience as we evolve, that eventually is going to shift. And then all of a sudden, this pain comes. And I love Michael Beckwith's this quote, I won't steal it, but it's pain pushes until the vision pulls. And ultimately, pain will push us to question the things that we have been given to believe. And that, again, that isn't just from a Christian tradition perspective. It's on multiple different ways. To be able to pull us into a potential new reality. And something that I think is way more inviting, you know, for our life. And I don't fault people for giving their authority over to dogma, you know? Whenever I say say no to dogma, and I can get kind of like rambunctious about it or whatever, and like what I have to remember is underneath many of those dogmas are they're real people, just like me and you, that are fearful in their own ways that maybe they're not even conscious of, just like I was, trying to sort things through. And I look back at the times that I was quite dogmatic. You know? And it's funny, I grew up in an environment that was like really prided itself on being open and whatever, but, you know, beneath the veneer, there's always something. There's always something. And as I, you know, got really into conservative Christianity, and you wouldn't know it now, but I was a big asshole like 13 years ago, and to some I still am. Maybe even more. But I was so focused on these dogmas, and if we could just wrap our head around, total depravity and this acronym of TULIP from the Reformed community that I was obsessed with and all of this stuff, that then we'd be on the right track. And, I was given a platform at a very young age because I was the pastor's kid, and then I became the youth pastor, and I started preaching on the stage, and I started to get really fiery about things that I knew about at 23 years old. And, life just kind of shakes all of that up. And if you're open, it'll shake that dogma right out of you. But for some people, they just hold on to it because it creates a sense of safety and security. And my heart has just become so much more softened to the people that cling to that dogma so much more. Because now my opposite of the fence dogma that I found is not going to, the same consciousness that got us here is not going to get us where we need to go. It's compassion and grace and mercy and love and understanding and inviting people to take one step forward and to see where I was at, 10, 12 years ago, and to invite us into that more. And so wherever you're at, on the continuum of dealing with your dogmas, I just want to invite you to just keep saying no. Just keep saying all the places in our hearts that keep rising up, because again, that isn't what's going to really build those bridges. And for those of you that come from more of a have a Christian background or worldview, and you're trying to sort out where all of this stuff belongs in your life, I'll bum a Richard Rohr quote, and that everything belongs. It all belongs. Nothing's wasted. It's all recycled. Just keep going. Keep searching. And don't allow the dogma to define you for who you are. And there's a story, and I'll end with this, and I'm totally cool if we end early. Probably won't, but just hang with me. Really all leading towards this story. I received a text from a friend not too long ago, and I've kind of subtweeted him before from up here. He doesn't know I'm talking about him, but whatever. He's a good dude. Doesn't live local or anything, so we're good there. And doesn't have the patience to read or watch what we do, so it's all good. Family friend for a long time. Some people, I'm about dialing it down and pulling it back, and it's not everybody's flavor. That's cool. But he sent me a text and sent me a reel. He's not on social media. Somehow he got a hold of this reel through his friends. And sent me this reel, and I watched it. And it was from a preacher that I used to actually really like, this Scottish preacher. And he told this story. And, I won't make too much commentary about the people that were on the podcast that were pulling the clip in to make commentary, because they're just not my people, and we'll leave that there. But I was reminded of this clip that I had seen before, and I'm still navigating where I'm at with my own dogmas and my own tradition. I'm a pastor's kid, and I was a preacher, and then went away, and wisdom just percolates. Doesn't matter where it comes from, and I keep these parables of Jesus keep coming back up, and I'm like, this is good stuff, and I'm trying to integrate it and feel my way through it all. And this story, though, made me just grateful for the reality of my tradition whenever I strip it away from its dogmas. And it's the story of Jesus when he's on the cross. And if many of you are familiar with this story, he's betrayed and accused and tried before people who yell for him to be put to death, and carries his cross most of the way to his own death site, and suffers a excruciating and painful death on a cross, a Roman torture device. And, when you really think of the barbaric nature of that, and that the reason that he found himself there is simply because he was trying to help set people free, and at the extents that dogma is willing to go to preserve their own power in place. You have a lot of compassion for this human. By that act, has shown himself quite divine. And the Scottish preacher tells this story, again, retells the story of Jesus on the cross, and he's got these two thieves next to him who have been caught and are paying the penalty for their wrongdoings. And the one person starts ridiculing and heckling Jesus about, if you really got, some powers, if you have cities, if you're from my Eastern friend community, if you got some real powers going on, why don't you get us off of these crosses? Why don't you get us off of these torture devices? Get these nails out of our arms and legs, and we should get out of here. And starts accusing him for all the ways that he isn't showing up for them in that moment. That if he could, he would. But the other person, the other thief on the other side, starts correcting him, and he says, this dude has nothing against him. There is nothing wrong. There is no reason that he should be up here dying the death that we deserve to die. We're thieves. We have wronged people. By all stretch of the imagination of society, we are the least of the society. We deserve to be up here. This guy doesn't. And he asks Jesus that when he gives up his body, that he would remember him when he comes into his kingdom. And Jesus tells him, surely this day you will be with me in paradise. And I think it's fascinating that this one story breaks every dogma that could ever be created about the Christian tradition in one moment. And as this Scottish preacher talked about, that one thief, if he, and I don't really necessarily subscribe to this afterlife worldview, but we're just going to ride on this train for a second, that he ultimately gives up his body and he shows up at the pearly gates, and there's Peter going through his book of life, looking for the names to let in. You know what I mean? Again, we're just cruising with the story for now. And the dude shows up, and Peter's like, what's your name? He's like, I can't find it in the book. And he's like, well, I found your name in the book, but under what reason do you get to be in here? And the Scottish preacher tells this story essentially that he has to go get management, and he pulls a supervisor over, and he's like, can you help me figure out why this guy's name on the list, but there's nothing underneath of it to describe the life that he was living that we would review and things of that nature. And he says, well, let me ask you, where did you stand on the inerrancy of Scripture? I don't know what you're talking about. Inerrancy of what? What about the doctrine of justification? Where do you land on the doctrine of justification? How about the Trinity? Do you affirm that there's one God and three persons? And what about church membership? Were you part of the potlucks and all the stuff? Nope, don't know what you're talking about. Well, under what reason should we let you in? And he says, the man on the middle cross said I could come. While I don't necessarily ascribe to that afterlife worldview, the point is, and what's fascinating about it to me too is, Jesus says, today you'll be with me in paradise, and mentions nothing about this cosmic blood that's supposed to make a father be okay with everybody else to get into there. One of the key dogmas that's happened is that we've believed this, and it's fair and it's good, and I don't know, DM me later, I don't know, but we've gotten obsessed with this idea that the only way that somehow this divine consciousness is okay with us, bless you, sweetheart, is if we accept the conceptual idea of a blood sacrifice, a human sacrifice, mind you, the biggest human sacrifice cult in all the traditions of all is Christianity, that blood covers you in some way, that's the only way that you can find that sense of acceptance with God. And we've created a dogma out of this, except for in the moment that Jesus is on the cross, he says, today you're going to be with me in paradise. He didn't resurrect yet. To believe in the resurrection as a prerequisite, he didn't. It completely unbuckles every idea that we have of you have to believe this, then you can get this. That one circumstance and situation, and I would argue that we hang our hat on that. And to even pull it even deeper into your own life, if Christ is in you, then imagine yourself as the one on that middle cross and the two voices on each side of you. The one that accuses you that why don't you just manifest better? Didn't you listen to enough Joe Dispenza to make something happen? Where's the glass house in La Jolla? Or the other side that compassionate side, that voice of reason, I would say the true self voice that says, we accept everything that's happening in this life as it is. And we have become living sacrifices to be able to give ourselves over to service so that we would receive wholeness and give ourselves for the wholeness of all. As the sun gives of itself to light this world, we as heirs of divinity give of ourselves as well in sacrifice. And I just think that that's a beautiful image to be able to recall and to remember. And so again, when we say church, it's like we don't have a Nicene creed, and if that doesn't mean anything to you, you're light years ahead. We don't hold to any of that. And some people even ask, like, you've not done communion or the Lord's Supper. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at with all that. We did that at the last time, and it always felt like a little bit like we're all kind of LARPing. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel, it feels like we're all kind of acting. I don't know. So I don't know. We haven't done that yet. But what I am adamant about is that we maintain that posture of openness and the mystery that that one scene in time, if you are someone who subscribes to the Christian tradition, that one moment in time, we have to reconcile with that in some way. Like we have to say, like, apparently whatever's happening here transcends all of our understanding of logic and reason and y equals mx plus b sorting through life. So that's what I mean when we don't have dogma. A non-dogmatic community is that we're all here with open hands. We're all here being curious. You have certain things that are your convictions. Absolutely, I do, or I wouldn't be doing this. This was my conviction. Yeah, I'm just doing it. And I don't think I'm here to make converts for anybody of it, but for the contemplative path. Could you imagine? We're just navigating this human experience together. And especially right now. I invite you to stand with me. Let's just pray. Especially right now. We have so much going on, and we just think more consciousness that got us here is going to solve it, and it's just not. And I'll just leave you with this. Real hopeful note. Again, Scorpio around here, so don't expect anything too flowery. The world is coming apart at the hinges, dude. And I'm not here to necessarily be a doom scroller person or whatever, doomcore or whatever they call the YouTube genre now. But it is coming off at the hinges. And if you're so woo to think 2020, it's not a secret. Things started to get wild, and it just keeps getting more and more weirder, as Terrence McKenna said. And the law of 7 of completion. Of course, 2027 is the year of some new world that we're moving into. And so, yeah, we're in 2026, and things are going to keep getting weirder and weirder and weirder. We have to keep reminding each other to ground out, because a battery with only a positive terminal explodes. So you got to have both sides. And we got to ground out as we are active in this life, because who knows what next year has in store. And I don't mean to be whatever, but it's true. Who knows? No one. So in this moment, we can surrender our anxiety and our worry and everything that keeps us bound up inside, so that we can ground to be rested and whole and calm as we move forward with clarity for whatever's coming. So with that, God, we thank you for this space. Thank you for all the things that are coming into fruition, even though they feel really chaotic and unknown. More so than ever, we ask for wisdom. We ask for guidance. We ask for courage to be able to act in ways that bring advocacy for wholeness and healing in this world. Help us in the most smallest of ways show up as the light. That as we are experiencing some fear, that we're tempted to put our light underneath the lampstand. Help us to be set on the lampstand, to bring light to this world, to be the city on a hill. Help us to trust the next foot in front of us. And that you would help to fill that dissonance within us with trust instead of suspicion. That all of our suspicions about this world and what's happening would be put at ease in the trust that there is order and flow from your divine mind. And we place our hope and trust in that. So be it. Amen. As you go, again, find someone who you made awkward eye contact with. Say hello. I know it's kind of like heaviness and stuff and whatever, but like, hopefully naming it will help free us in some way. There is a light that's available to us. So I'll stop talking and find someone to say hello with, and be online for looking at the February 12th event. We'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day.